Hello, everyone. We're just getting set up here. Sorry for the delay. Okay. All right, here we go, Michelle.
I'm looking. Oops.
Let's see.
We're live.
We are.
Okay.
Y'all, we are laughing. We got all generations up in here.
We just right on that one.
We got all generations up in here. Oh my goodness. All right, so here we go. All right, everyone, just going live separately on IG. We're still here. Okay. Michelle, I'm going to start with you.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
Michelle, oh, Lord, this is going to definitely.
Is still delayed, just so you know.
Oh, Lord, this is going to definitely. No, it's still not coming
has
up.
A delay, though, Michelle. Candace.
No, it's still not coming up. It is not coming up, Michelle.
It's not. I can see.
No. Can you see me?
I see you down here in the corner. Is that you? Oh, there's some people down here in the corner. What is that?
Michelle.
Oh, that's not you. Okay, hold on. Let me X out of that. What is that?
Sorry, y'all. We have all generations right now on here.
Oh, no.
So you know that this is going to be a very interesting talk about mentorship.
Was I supposed to go live?
No. Do you see me at the top?
Sorry.
All right, that's all right. We're gonna make it do what it do. That's
Let
what
me
we're
stop
gonna do
this.
Here. All right. So, hey everybody. Hi everyone. My name is Candace. I am the founder and CEO of No Gap Consulting, where I'm on a mission to bridge the gap in leadership when it comes to representation of Black women in the mid and executive levels by empowering the next level of queens, millennials, and Gen Z queens who are brand new to the leadership lane for the very first time by empowering them with the skills, resources, and the confidence they need in order to succeed. There are three of us here. Unfortunately, on IG, you can only see two. But there are three of us here in the chat. We have all generations represented. That's why we are laughing, because this is actually just an insight of what my mentor meetings have looked like. So you are really getting a real-time mentorship. But today we are talking about why investing in yourself and getting a mentor is a game changer. And what other way than for me to bring in two ladies who actually inspired me through mentorship. The first one, she has held many positions at LPL Financial, from AVP of Operations and Cash Management and Client Comp to the position that I met her in as the VP of Employee Experience. She started her career at TIAA as a team manager in North Carolina. So understand we are in the Carolinas as well. We bi-coastal right now. She is currently the CEO, and by CEO, I mean Chief Energy Officer of her own coaching business, Transition to Infinite Possibilities, and she's a certified coach. Let me say that again. A certified coach is what she is. Let's see here. She is a mom. She's held a board member seat and the chair seat of African American ERG, and she has been my very own informal mentor. Her name is Miss Cynthia Haley. Hey. And next, so for my IG people, I'm going to flip the camera around so you can see who the third person is that is here. We could not get her IG to her IG was not IGN. Let's just say that we could not connect it. But she is currently the assistant to VP at LPL, but has also held many positions there as AVP of STO, that I know it as, which is service training and operations. She's also too the VP of talent development. She was a team leader of Vanguard. For those who don't know that, that is in the finance industry where it requires a license that which she obtained her Series 6 and 63 while she was there. But my second favorite position that she has held was a women's track and field coach for the University of Toledo. She was a coach then, and she is a coach now. She is a mother, and she is my very own old mentor, Michelle Maxey. So look, I'm gonna flip it around. Oh, everybody on IG, so you can give her a little hello. I know it's the technical. There she is, Michelle Maxey.
Hello.
Look, we gonna get it together. We gonna definitely get it together. All right, so I love the way this is starting off. It cannot start no better way. But again, thank you too for coming on and agreeing to be a part of this. As you know, what it is it is for people that in first time leadership, people that aspire to be a leader, or maybe just someone that's just stuck in their career and just talk about it. So I thought the best way to start is for us to talk about our younger selves. If we were to give advice to our younger selves, what would be the best piece of advice as a Black woman navigating a corporate world? What would you give them?
You want to start off, Michelle?
I could give it a shot. Yes. So I think what I would tell my younger self is that it's going to be all right. Right? You're going to make mistakes, but you can recover from them, learn from them, move forward with them, and it will shape your life for the better. I think that's what I would say. Just relax and not take it too seriously and just show up as authentic as you can in your situation, but know that it's going to be okay. You just have to take a breath, do your best, and take one step at a time.
I would agree with that one, and I would add to it by saying to my younger self, I'm gonna say I'm still young, but my younger self, I would say own your voice and refuse to be silenced. And I say that because I have my own personal story, right? Where um, I can recall this was several years back, getting ready for a client meeting, and me being the only Black woman um, in this room at this table, I was actually told to come in, but don't say anything. Can you believe that? Yeah, don't say anything, right? And that was quite devaluing. But in that moment, you're like fight or flight. Which one do you do? And you just kind of keep going. But if I were to go back in time, I know I would have handled that situation a lot differently.
I would agree with what both of you both said. Most part, like what you just said, Cynthia, about like not allowing someone to basically dim your light. And that would definitely, I had a similar experience where I wasn't told not to say anything, but I was cursed at and I didn't know how to handle
Oh,
that.
whoa.
Yeah, it,
Mm.
I
Curse.
know.
I don't know which
Yes.
version you might have got in that moment, though.
Listen, and then for me at that point in time, like I didn't really know how to navigate it.
Mm,
But if I were to add anything else from what you both just said, I would also to let people know, like, don't forget about your vision and your dreams, to keep that at the forefront, especially as you're getting into leadership. A lot of times we've all experienced it where we put our development on the back burner because our goal is our team to make sure that they're successful. But we forget that we're also to an individual. And
mm,
like I was mentioning in that situation, like me dimming my light, not knowing how to navigate, but also to putting my dreams on the back burner, it really made me think about how I lost that light, how I
mm.
allowed that situation to kind of dim it. And it kind of resonated to me thinking about my senior year in high school, because I too was basketball too, Michelle.
Okay.
But in high school, like I had goals. I had big goals for myself because fresh 18, ready to get out of here. And so MVP of the basketball court was one of the things that I wanted to do my senior year. Graduated with honors and becoming a homecoming queen, and I did all of those things. But when I got into leadership, I forgot about how important it is
Mm.
to not forget that. You know.
Yeah, yeah, that's critical. And I think, the other piece of that you hit on a little bit was, you're leading people, you're supposed to be developing as well, because your team that you're leading is watching you, right? And they're watching you experience these different challenges and how you respond to them and how you show up in them. And so it's important that that development piece continues.
And I would just add, I think it's hard to be that person in the moment when you're not a leader yet. Even though we're all leaders at all times and we come through as leaders because that's who we are. But when
Mm-hmm.
you're not sitting in that seat, it's important that you remind yourself of all of these things and then find your way specifically that works for you and not necessarily that works in the advantage of someone else. So, yeah, look
Absolutely.
at it from a perspective of what do I want to do? How do I want to show up? Just like you said, Cynthia, how can I show my best self, right? And navigate the waters that are in front of me
Mm-hmm.
and still be able to achieve the things that I want to achieve because every day is a lesson. Every day is that development opportunity. And so every day you're going to learn something you're going to need in that next step.
So then, how would you stay true to your authentic self while you're climbing the corporate ladder? Like with kind of adding on to what you're saying, like being true to yourself, like how do you stay true to your authentic self?
The first thing comes to mind for me is, first you have to be grounded in your purpose, right? And recognize, the potential of your impact. So it's, you can get caught up in situations so easily. It can take you down. You can be, thrown in the fire, and it could easily pull you down. Um, or you might, be the person you don't really want to show up as in certain situations, and that takes you out of character, and you lose sense of your actual purpose and why you're even in this role, why you're in this seat, what you want to accomplish in this space, because of a situation or a person took you off track. And I think if you could always come back center, speaking yoga terms, I like to do yoga too. Come back center, right? Find your ground, your foundation, what keeps you together, and that's your purpose. And know that the potential you have to actually make impact is greater and far more powerful than that situation or that person or circumstance.
I think that's good. I also think we talk a lot about being authentic in ourselves, but do you know who your authentic self is?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Right? My authentic self at 24 is not my authentic self at 60, right? My authentic self at 40 is different than it was at 30. So the older I get, the more authentic I get. Is that okay to say?
It is, and it is.
You know, so that you can do the exact same thing that Cynthia just talked about. Because sometimes we are our worst enemy at being fake, thinking we're being authentic.
Right.
Being late to work ain't authentic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that's like that hits the nail right on the head. Is that you are different versions of yourself? Because 20-year-old Candace, when I got into leadership, oh no, firecracker, like what?
Oh yeah.
You know, but I didn't know. I didn't know any better other than what I was seeing, which I wasn't being, even in that moment, I wasn't being true to my authentic self because I've never been that type of person to be like, hey, you do what I say. That's never been who I was, but because that's the only thing that I saw, that's the only thing I knew how a leader was supposed to look like. And I think too, like with Cynthia, what you said, like understanding your purpose, I think too, our core values, like as long as you, when you know your authentic self, like you will understand what your core values are as a person. And if anything that comes to jeopardize you going against those things, your core values, they're going to change too as you grow. But if it starts to come against your core values, then that's when you have to take a step back and say, okay, is this worth it? Because now it's not just about the job, it's about my character, my integrity, where I'm starting to tap into.
Right. Right. Got to stay true to you. Because at the end of the day, you know, your reputation matters, right? How you want to show up matters. Because whether you stay at that job or in that role, go someplace else, you carry that with you. You carry your reputation with you. So, how do you want to show up?
So, because we are in this realm, imposter syndrome has been blowing up. I think now everybody's able to label exactly what that is. And so when staying authentic to ourselves, but now shifting to the other side is like, how do you actually go through those days when imposter syndrome creeps in? How do you combat that self doubt, that fear of failure, and keep pushing forward?
I think it kind of goes back to what Cynthia, you were talking about with purpose,
Yeah.
right? So reminding yourself of your purpose should combat that imposter syndrome or that insecurity with trying to be someone else and live out someone else's true purpose in that way. I feel like if you know your purpose, you're then your authentic self and you're driving and not losing sight of that, that whole imposter syndrome goes away because you're actually being who you are and you know your purpose. Knowing your purpose is tough though.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I would
Who
agree
you
with that.
telling?
And I'm going to put the spin in the title there, right? Energy. Because imposter syndrome often is connected to your energy, right? And what is happening on the inside. And you have to be very cognizant of your thoughts because your thoughts are connected to how you act. You know, if you're thinking a certain way, you're going to act a certain way. And you have to sit and ask yourself, is this the person that I really want to show up as? And I've told this story probably 1,001 times, but I always go back to Pastor Stephen Furtick. This was years ago, and I still have the post-it note that says, stop putting bubble thoughts over people's heads.
Mm.
Right? Because a lot of times you get in these spaces and you're like, I wonder if they're saying this, or they might be saying that, or they're probably thinking I did this, but I didn't do that. Or if I go in this meeting, they're already thinking this about me, or, you know, they're probably waiting for me to feel. You're putting all these little, if you can imagine a cartoon strip, right? You're putting all these little bubble thoughts over people's heads, and you're creating a narrative that doesn't even exist. And then that creates this thought and this feeling like I'm not good enough, or I'm already failing before I even step into the space, you know, and it's just, it doesn't even exist. So if we could stop creating narratives that don't exist, we would be in a much better place. Our energy would elevate, and it would allow us to really reach, like I call it in my business, infinite possibilities, right? You really want to increase your conscious awareness of how you're showing up, what energy you're bringing into these spaces so that you can be the person you want to be.
So y'all know I'm in my don't be laughing at me. No, because like I definitely hear what you all are saying. So like for me this morning, it when I say it was a battle starting at 3:30 a.m. and
Ooh.
it didn't stop until 6:30.
And you're on the West Coast.
And I don't
So
yes.
yeah, 3:30 for me. I wasn't even up yet. And
Like, and that's like normally my time. Like I started kind of waking up, because I go to the gym at 5 and whatnot. But
mm,
like it was hard to like fight through that. And I think another piece of it from a practical standpoint is to have your support,
yeah.
like that support squad. Because what I definitely did is like I had like a scheduled phone call to call, and we were going to talk about something totally different. One of the girls that actually was my life coach, and we were just kind of talking, and I was like, girl, I just need help,
Mm-hmm,
where I
mm-hmm.
had that comfort. We had that comfort level for me to actually be vulnerable, to know like I need help. I need someone that is actually walking this out, because I don't care what anybody says, entrepreneurship is hard. It is hard.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
hard. And it's a process. And it's a process that you have to be at a point where you are accepting every single day and finding the gratitude in it. But
Yeah. It's tough, but I think you hear a lot of people express concerns about that support in the workplace, right? Like, so your support might be easily tapped outside of the workplace. But when
mm-hmm.
you're in that, 9 to 5, or you're in these different scenarios or situations, who can you tap? What does that support system look like in the workplace? And I think that's what you wanted to really hone in on as well, is around mentorship,
Mm-hmm.
right? And mentors can live in the workplace or outside the workplace. I strongly suggest having both,
Yep.
to have those unbiased opinions, something that's a little unfiltered. Um, but you do need someone who can truly understand when you pick up that phone or you send that IM or chat and say, I need a moment. I need to talk through this. So you can get out of your way, or allow that imposter syndrome or those other thoughts and things to dissipate. But there has to be a trusted person, right? You want to be somewhere where you feel psychologically safe, because that's important in the
That
workplace,
word. Mm-hmm.
right? And in entrepreneurship, as I can, relate as well, support is critical. But the bigger thing you touched on, Candace, was being vulnerable enough to ask.
That's right.
Where does that exist? As someone coming in, as let's just say, of course, like the Gen Zers, they're starting to come into the workplace. So like another Black woman that's coming into the workplace, it's their first job, and they happen to come into corporate. How do they even know how to navigate that? Because I think that's also
Mm-hmm.
too a hurdle, is where you don't know what you don't know. This is the first time they ever had a job, but maybe reaching out, especially kind of in that generation, kind of reaching out is something that may cause anxiety for them to do that. That fear, we all have it. It's just like you have to get to a place to overcome. So like, how do you, like, what would you say to someone brand new coming into the workplace?
Mm,
I'm going to take a different spin on it because I think
yeah.
Cynthia's going to go the way I think I would go as well. But
You know me
I
too well,
think
Michelle. You know
I
me too
do.
well.
I do.
Stop.
I think that we have to take accountability as women and help other women in the workplace. There's
Mhm.
no reason that anybody that's a leader at any corporation isn't looking for mentors for other people. First, you're a mentor yourself, but you should be able to see someone struggling and have a friend or have someone available to them and do that,
Yeah.
reach out for them, introduce them to someone, have that safe space for them, create it for them until they can create it for themselves. We cannot continue to assume that our next generation is going to be comfortable enough to come up to us and say, hey, my name is, or can you help me, or be vulnerable in that way. I think that it's a two-way street. And I think the second part of that two-way street is someone already sitting in that seat helping to lay that path for them, speaking first. How are you doing? Sitting down with them at lunch, talking to them as, just as a person. How long have you been here? When was your first day? What is your history? Like, how can I help you? So sometimes that needs to show up first as well as maybe what, others think like, oh, okay, introduce yourself and do this and that.
Yeah.
It's got to be a two-way street, in my opinion. We're too old for this. We should be able to give back.
I actually said that, like, I did a challenge on LinkedIn and I was like, let's reverse the script. And some of you tenure leaders go out and seek out someone that needs like to be mentored, someone that you see that's new, that maybe a little bit more on the introvert side, that you just like going up and saying hello, introducing yourself and asking, hey, would you like me to be your mentor? How many of them will be so surprised? I would be surprised if somebody came
Yeah.
up to me and said, "Can what? Can you be my mentor?" Yes, yes, you can.
Yeah. But generations, right? How we communicate is different. And you're talking about this a newer generation coming into the workplace with the added complexity, being a lot of environments are virtual or
Yes.
hybrid.
Mm-hmm.
And for anybody who's in college or getting ready to go into the corporate setting, the one skill you're going to need is relationship building. And because you have to learn how to network and connect with people beyond the screen, beyond a text, you have to learn how to use your voice. You have to learn how to articulate what you bring and what you need. Because if Michelle reaches out to you and says, hey, Candace, I see you're new to the organization, tell me about yourself. What are you looking to do? What do you want to do? Can you answer that?
Would I be like
You know?
IDK?
Right. IDK, then I have to go text my daughter and be like,
Like,
what's
what
that
does
Like,
mean?
that
what's the
mean?
IDK
You
mean?
know?
I don't know.
I got that one though. I know that
Okay.
one. But if you start giving me all these other letters, then we got a problem, right? So,
Mhm.
but relationship building and communication is going to be real critical. Like you have to start building that muscle early and know how to position yourself, because if someone like Michelle or someone like myself or you reach out to a new entrant to the workforce, what are they going to say? You have to be prepared with that. I'll call it personal brand statement, or elevator pitch, or value proposition, whatever you want to call it. When they ask you, who are you, what do you want to do, where do you see yourself, what would you like to learn, how can I support you, what's going to be your answer?
I don't know if they know how to answer. Oh, I know. If you would ask me, I know how to answer it. But I can't speak for everybody else. I'm not gonna speak for everybody else.
No,
And
I
that
think
that
you're, yeah,
No,
too
but
is
I think
why
you're
you
right.
need a mentor coming
Mm-hmm.
in to the workforce. It could be a college professor, it could be a community service leader, someone you did a project with. It could be a church member, a family member, anyone who can help you navigate this space. It could be a coach
for sure.
that you could hire to prepare you for the first 90 days going into corporate America, right? But you have to be willing to ask for the help in navigating this new space, because it's difficult nowadays. We would hear it all the time, right? Where people are challenged in these virtual settings. Well, I've been with the company a whole year. I haven't met anybody.
Yeah. So
Navigating those waters are different.
I would agree with that. Would so if you all had the power to design a workshop specifically for young Black women entering into corporate world, what are some like key essential skills or insights would you prioritize?
Do.
I was like, don't get me. I got a whole list.
I got a
Yeah,
whole
it's a
list too.
lot. It's a lot. I mean, we just talked about relationship building and communication, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are important. I think if you're coming into, wait, let me go back. This is just a new person, not a new in leadership. This is just new into the workforce.
Right. Mm-hmm. Be real now,
Mm-hmm.
Cynthia. Because you know,
Because we have a mixture. We definitely have a mixture
yes.
of people that are brand new come in, and then some that do, that are in that have the aspiration of being into leadership. So if you had that mix, like somebody may come in very ambitious and like, I know I want to be in leadership, and they know exactly where their next destination is. So there's like certain skills that they can start working on. But if we're thinking about also to entry level.
Some of it is mental, right? Just psychological, checking your ego at the door, um, the humility aspect. You may think you can bring everything from college that you learned, but you're going to learn a whole lot more that weren't in the books, right? So you have to just be prepared mentally coming in to the corporate space straight out of college, and be humble, right? And that goes for anyone, woman, man. I think um, coming into the workspace, you have to be a good listener and willing to listen. Um, I always quote Stephen Covey, where he says, "Seek first to understand, then to be understood." Right? Oftentimes we go into spaces and we want people to see it our way. Like, this is the way that I know it. This is what I was taught in my senior project, and this is how it should be. Press the
You're
pause
like,
button,
mm-mm.
press the pause button and seek to
Wait.
understand, right? It's not to say what you learn goes out the window, but you have to start practicing how to insert that.
I think that's good. I think that's right. I think I'm doing interviews for manager positions, which is a leadership role at LPL. And I find there's so much missing, right? The vulnerability, the
Mm-hmm.
being real with yourself, and understanding that, no one, you have to work hard. You actually do. You actually do have to show up as your best self every day. And that's not easy,
What do you mean,
right?
Michelle? This new generation is like,
No, no,
it
no.
is 4:59. I am clocking out. Goodbye.
I'm going to tell you
Look,
right now.
don't get Michelle hyped up right now.
I'm going to tell you right now. And I am going to use both of you as examples, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I
There
want
is
to
a
be in your example.
big difference. You are too funny. Showing up with what you know and showing up not knowing nothing, right? You cannot walk through a door in which you are not capable of handling the load of work that may be handed to you because you didn't do the work, right? So I'm a developer by nature. So when I'm looking at a resume, I will send it back to the person and have them redo it or try to help them do it, right? Because that's your first introduction into
Mhm.
that space. If you don't take the time to get a coach, have someone help you be vulnerable, like I'm doing these things, I don't know how am I showing up, get some feedback and listen to the feedback. I remember meeting both of you separately and understanding right away who you were when you walked through the door without you even saying anything. I knew the work ethic you brought. I knew the energy that you had, and I knew what was, um, how would I put it, the expectation that you had for yourself and thus for others.
Mm-hmm.
As you're entering, as the new generation enters in, it's almost like give me $80,000. I'll take the minimum amount of calls. I'll do the minimum amount of work, and then I want you to give me more money to do less work. That just doesn't. That's not available to
You
anybody.
said you're basically saying, Michelle, have a
So,
reality check, right?
Have a
It's
reality
reality check.
check. Have a reality check. I'm going back old school, to be honest. I need all of
listen,
this
it's
to be better.
listen. It sounds like you even throwing building some resilience, like learning how to build that when it comes to
Right.
coming into corporate, which is like those tools and techniques to bounce back from setbacks because you're
Yes.
going to have setbacks. Like regardless of what
Yes.
social media shows you, you're going to have setbacks. There are going to be challenges. I literally was just telling someone the other day, like when you come into any role that you come into, whether you're going into leadership or you're trying something different, that transitional period is a learning period. And so, as much as you like, I rose my hand today to say, hey, I need help. I also need to
Mm-hmm.
raise my hand to say, as well as I also need to give myself grace. Hey, give
Mm-hmm.
myself
Yes.
grace to grow. And I think that's too where, like, when it comes to like the generations, is, the next generation coming up is like, give yourself grace to grow. You're not gonna know it all. As much as I listen, I was there and I thought I was a know it. Like every time my mom would ask me, I know, I know. I didn't know nothing. I didn't
What
know
you're
it.
describing is like just be a forever learner.
Be a
That
forever
part.
learner. Listen to
Always a student.
learn. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to learn. Apply yourself. Use your poker chips. You don't have to be the only one in the group talking. I have someone on my team. That's all they're doing is talking. I need you to be silent and listen to learn, right? Sometimes silence is golden and you're
Yeah.
giving yourself an opportunity to learn. So when you do ask that question, I think I got this from you, Cynthia. It's a good question,
Mm-hmm.
not just a question. It's a good question. And everybody's like, man, I wish I had asked that question. That's where the
And it could be
coach
one
comes
powerful
in and the mentor.
question.
One powerful question can change the whole atmosphere in the room. One powerful question, it could be the last question, and everybody leaves that room with you on their mind because you asked the best question and shut down what's going on. It takes time
Mhm.
to learn how to do that, but
Yeah.
what it also takes is vulnerability, listening to learn, taking a step back, being observant, but always being prepared.
Yeah.
So since you said prepared, we're just gonna shift gears a little bit and let's get into this whole narrative of angry black woman.
I'm not
Now,
angry.
Like, I mean, that's a
Yeah.
stereotype. That's what I said. We're not all angry, but like someone coming in, like that whole narrative around angry Black woman, that stereotype that's in the workplace. What are some key messages that you would want to convey when it comes to that? Hold on, angry Black woman notation that people pretty much associate all of. To me, there's a lot of us they associate that term with whenever we begin to speak. So I don't think new leaders coming in, even coming into corporate, like being a Black woman, you guys, they don't know that you may get labeled that way. And if so, how are you going to navigate? So, like, what kind of message would you want to convey around that whole narrative?
Don't believe it. That's not
Mm-hmm.
what you're doing. It's a facade that is used against you for absolutely no reason other than that they feel like they can do it and they can say it and that
And
you're
they feel
that
threatened.
and they feel threatened.
Yeah. It's funny. I was just looking at something. I don't know if it was on Instagram or whatever, an article or something that said, Black women have to smile when they don't want to smile. They have to come on the camera, with all these WebEx and Zoom calls and be so conscious of their facial expression so that it doesn't get misinterpreted. Right. And you ask yourself, like, does anybody else go through this? Like you're on the camera and if you have a rested face for whatever reason, you might be reading an email or you might be thinking, what am I going to cook tonight? And it's assumed that you're upset about something.
Yeah. And the next conversation is with your leader talking about, I saw you in this meeting. Are you okay?
Are you okay? Yes. So it's a couple things. Candace, one, I agree with Michelle. Don't believe it. Easier said than done because a lot of times the voices get in your head and you start to diminish yourself in these settings because of how it keeps coming at you. Well, the other thing I would say from an allyship perspective, when you hear it, squash it. Like
immediately.
What we need from you, it's Black History Month. What we need from you is to speak up. When you hear your colleague or your peer or whomever saying, I wonder what was wrong. She didn't smile. She don't have to smile every 2 seconds. What are you coming up with? Why are you creating a narrative that doesn't exist about this person?
That's right.
When you hear it, speak up, say something.
Be a champion for them.
Be a champion for the culture.
That's
right? Because that's what we truly need. It's hard. We can support each other as, Black women or Black people, but we need our allies to speak up and say something when they experience these conversations.
Because normally we're the only ones in the room. You're the only one that looks like you in that room. Go ahead, Candace.
No, and I would just say, like, to add on to that, like, I would also to flip the script. So what I started doing was adding like subliminal things in there. So if you gonna sit there and say angry, I'm going to showcase the way that we look, the way that we feel when we're talking passionate about something. That's not aggressive. But let me show you. And I would put something out there and be like, oh, this quote is about passion. And then I would have like a Black lady and showing that this is what passion look like, not aggressive. This is what passion look like. Or assertiveness when, and they try to associate it with angry. No, that assertiveness is also equal to confidence. Hey, confidence looks like this. Bam, there go another picture. But, like, begin to convey, like, to cancel out that negative that negative connotation that we are all angry. And just because that we communicate differently, because that's the way our culture communicates, that doesn't mean that we're angry. Because 9 times out of 10, a lot of cultures, we haven't been in each other's homes to identify that, oh, this is what angry looks like. No, in our culture, we just talking passionately. Like that's passion. But for you to sit there and say angry and say that, like take a seat back and like really look at it. And if you really want to be inclusive, take that opportunity to ask, like, hey, when you talk, I don't want to say you're angry. Are you just passionate? Ask those questions if you feel that way. But that's what I would kind of say, like when it comes to like people get into the workplace, you can change the narrative, like you said, Michelle, like not believe it, but then start flipping the script and showing representation of what this looks
It
like.
could look like. I would
Mm-hmm.
also challenge the whole passionate thing too, because that is starting to become a degrading equation towards us as well. Oh, you're just passionate. No, I'm not passionate. I'm actually right.
Oh no.
Yeah, because they don't call white men or black men passionate. They don't call men at all passionate, normally speaking, right? But you're
Or
going to try to
angry.
silence me by saying that I'm angry or by saying that I'm passionate. No, actually I'm right. And I have data to support what I'm saying. The way that you're receiving it might seem different, but I'm not passionate nor am I angry. I'm actually correct.
Hence why organizations can't wait. Can I just do a hand clap on that one, Michelle?
Mm-hmm.
that was real good. That was real good. But I think it's why it's important for organizations to continue the work with diversity, equity, and inclusion. Because in order to really relate and understand, you have to embrace different cultures. We all communicate different
Differently.
based on our cultural experiences. And when you only see things through one lens, having tunnel vision, that's what creates these toxic and tension filled environments, because we're not open to understanding how others experience different situations. It doesn't make it right or wrong. It's just part of who they are. It's part of the cultural experience. And we need to be open to learning about that. Some cultures talk fast,
Right.
right? Does that mean you go into a meeting and say, gosh, you were talking way too fast?
Yeah.
You can't do that,
I.
you know? But the angry
Mm-hmm.
black woman thing, it continues. I think we, to your point, Candace, have to change the narrative.
We do.
Um, and be very conscious not to respond the same way it was given.
Mm.
Right? Because
Mm-hmm.
it's expected for you to react.
Yeah.
You don't have to
Yeah.
give them that same energy. Sometimes it's a teachable moment.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, dang, that hour has went by pretty quick.
It
It's
did.
good.
Yeah.
I guess so. Just to kind of end it off with, when it comes to mentorship, work life balance. What's your approach when it comes to helping other Black women navigate an often tricky path when it comes to work life balance, especially in demanding corporate roles? Because I was looking at something maybe the other day where it had talked about, when it comes to work life balance, majority of, or 4 out of 10, let me say that 4 out of 10 homes in the US, when it comes Black family homes, is dual parent, which means that work life balance, that other six is one parent. Majority of the time it's the mom. And now, because of women having to be more, I don't want to say more independent, because I don't want to really say all that, but whenever it comes to them being the breadwinner of the head of household, they're having to do that. So that work life balance, it to me seems more work than life that's happening. So what would be your approach for helping Black women kind of navigate through that?
I'm going to start by saying Press the pause button and see a vision for yourself. And I know that there's a lot of talk out there about, work-life balance doesn't exist, but it is what you make it. And the first thing I would ask is, what's the vision for yourself? What do you want to, how do you want to experience life? You know, do you want to sleep good at night? If the answer is yes, then you have to start thinking about what's causing me not to sleep good at night, and keep peeling the onion back, right? Until you address the root cause of that. Um, I'll share, you hit on the 6 out of 10. I'm one of them, right? And quick story time. I can remember, probably my daughter might have been 4 or 5, maybe, right? And in that moment, I was coming home with back then it was a BlackBerry, right? Had the BlackBerry and the laptop and everything going, trying to, fix something to eat, BlackBerry in hand, laptop on the table, doing it all, right? And then one day she said, "Are you still working?" And it was in that moment I caught myself and I was like, I'm not present. I'm not being present at home. I'm still going for them and not showing up for who's very important to me, right? And granted, the work still needed to get done, but I made a conscious decision to cut it off at a certain time, do what I needed to do until she went to bed, and then I may pick it back up or I may not. Because the other question I started asking myself was, is something burning? Is the building on fire? Or can it wait until the next day? 9 times out of 10, it can wait.
True.
Period.
I got a t-shirt for that.
Yeah,
I really
think
don't have
everything.
much to add. I was just going to say I don't have much to add to that, but it's still because I'm one of the 6'2" with 2. It still is dictated by who you show up to be during that 5, 6, 7, 8 hours during the day,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you're taking ownership over your work-life balance and giving what you need to give so that you can give what you need to give.
What you're describing too is boundaries, Michelle, right?
That's
Setting
what I was
Yes,
gonna say.
boundaries.
Setting
boundaries.
boundaries.
And another story I like to tell people, I share this often, is Brene Brown's book, Dare to Lead.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
Brene Brown shares the example of painting the picture of done.
Yes.
And as she illustrates that, she talks about, you are already working on a project, you have a task at hand, you get handed another task that's
Mm,
like, oh, that one's due in 5 minutes. And the one that you're working on is due in 10 minutes. Right. And so you have to stop and paint the picture of done and ask the question, here's what I'm working on. If I stop to do this, this is how it will impact this other project.
that's
Mm-hmm.
right.
Is there someone else who can come in to pick this up? Or how do we want to set the expectation? Because if I take
Priorities.
this is what will happen. But being
Mm-hmm.
clear, set the expectation and say, if I get this done, understand that's how this will affect this other thing.
Yep.
Is that okay? Or is there another resource or someone else who can jump in and pick that up while I work on this?
Yeah, and I
Setting
just
boundaries, asking questions, and getting clarity.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like a boundaries is a huge one that we now have word for that when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
that. But I also to put emphasis on prioritizing self care as well when it comes to work life balance is making sure that you have some practical steps in there to know like okay at the end of this week I'm going to do this for myself or
Mm-hmm.
today I'm going to take 5 minutes to do this for myself whatever that looks like for you but to also to implement a little bit more of that life balance And then to get rid of any guilt. If you don't get it done, you don't get it done. Don't feel guilty about it. Nobody got time for that. Like, just understand that it's going to be there and that's okay. And I think that's where, going back to what we talked about earlier, having that support squad, that squad of sisters, those friends, your go-to that can come in and sometimes be like, girl, what are you doing? That can wait till tomorrow. And, to really help you when it comes to that whole work-life balance. But I saw it so much with, especially with one of my old peers. And I used to tell them all the time, like, you are going to kill yourself. Like, you're putting too much stress, chronic stress. I said chronic stress is the number one silent killer. And you're putting too much chronic stress on yourself for this job. And it's diminishing your quality of life with your family.
Mental and physical health can be
Especially.
workplace stress and anxiety.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna open it up. If anybody have any questions that they would like to ask, I didn't see any come in the chat. I saw some on IG a little bit saying like, "Oh, that's so crazy. I had similar experience." Anyone have any questions? Drop it in the chat. And you know me, I'm like, I'm going back to being a corporate. If no questions, silence is golden.
Well, hopefully
Silence.
hopefully this resonated with a lot of people. We touched on a lot of different topics. So Candace, I'll say, thank you for even establishing the platform to have the conversation. And you have a panel of 3 generations of Black women leaders. And this is powerful in itself. And I would just, encourage other people that look like us to support each other, and those that don't look like us, be an ally and champion, because we do need that. So thank you, Candace. It was great connecting again, Michelle.
Yes.
This was good. Thank you.
Yeah. You all have any final? I know, Cynthia, you kind of just did yours. Michelle, you got anything final you want to give anybody?
Hey, just, really appreciate the experience. Definitely want to say thank you for thinking of me. Take your passion back. Make that word your own. Don't allow it to be used against you as a word that doesn't mean something, because this is something that we are all involved in. This is where our passion lies, helping each other, being supportive of each other, and being there when you need an ally, in the workplace or outside the workplace. So love you guys always.
Likewise.
Yeah, so that actually concludes our whole discussion. I hope, again, kind of piggybacking what both of them have said, hope this was added some value for each of you. Understand whether or not you are a first time leader, because that is definitely what I am definitely geared towards, is helping first time queens who are brand new to the leadership lane for the very first time with the tools, resources, as well as confidence that they need. But regardless where you're at in your career journey, understand that mentorship is something that should be in your top 6 people that you have in your corner, whether that is externally, whether that is internally within your corporation. Look, whether or not it's somebody that you follow, let's just be real, somebody you follow or some books that you read, whatever it is, but mentorship, having that connection would definitely take you a long way. So again, ladies, I appreciate you all. I miss y'all. Y'all don't know I used to work with them. I'm on the West Coast, they're on the East Coast, so I know it is 9:00 at night over there. So I even appreciate you even more for being a part of this chat. But other than that, everybody else, you guys have a great night. And like I always say, keep driving.
Awesome.
Awesome.